broken. I was down on bended knee. Through my pain, I called your name. You were there for me. You were there for me. I climbed the highest mountain. I looked down at the deep blue sea. The sky, it cries for love's sweet love. One touch can be a lifeline. One prayer can soothe a troubled soul. One friend can bless a lifetime. And I want to be the one. The silence, one dream can change history. One candle wipes out darkness, and I want to be the one. Yeah, I want to be the one.
Today, my talk is about mastery. I figure, and I've said this many times, we hear many times in the past, we hear about return on investment. And, most of us in this room have invested a lot of time and energy and money into our spiritual path, spiritual well-being, our awakening. And so it's really, are you getting the return you want? Is it really bringing to you everything that you ask for? And, I've been questioning this myself. Many things I'm seeing the reaps of where I'm reaping the benefits of all the energy and time and love I've put into what I've done. And in some areas I'm seeing where I could do better and where I'd like to see some shifts in my life. And so we have started several months now. We have a terrific class here. All of our classes are terrific, by the way. I don't want to take any energy away from anything because they're all fabulous. But one of my favorite books that we study on Tuesdays here is called The Way of Mastery. And it's been a game changer, a life changer for me, to say the least. I did actually have that book introduced to me back in the 90s, shortly after it came out. We had a group at our center in Florida. I never really participated in the group for whatever reason. I just didn't. And then I picked it up again, and man, it's really been an awesome experience. It's usually between 8 and 12 people. We have such in-depth and open-hearted sharing and things that really, if we talked about this to certain audiences, it might be a little bit like, whoa, or how can you even think that or believe that? And we go off in many directions, but we all come together with one common goal, as we do here on Sundays, and that goal is to really be our best selves and ultimately to wake up, to be masters, to become masters. And I think that somewhere along the line, that idea of us becoming masters of our destiny or walking as a master on this planet, we've been squashed because it's been taught to us that that is actually maybe a blasphemous thing. How dare you think that you have that power? It's the separation between our brother, friend Jesus and other masters that we'll never get there. We're just lowly sinners, and life, we just have to run through it and bear with it and deal with it. And we have to deal with it, and we have to go through day-to-day life experiences. Life sometimes is not easy. Things happen, life happens. But I do know that Jesus and other masters have never come here to keep us down. Jesus came to us to demonstrate a way that is potential and possible in all of us. And other masters have as well. Whoever your master guides are, your ascended masters that you follow, they all came here to teach us how to be like them. So we have to have the courage to step up to that call and answer it. It's not an easy path though. It takes vigilance, it takes practice, it takes patience, it takes trust, it takes faith, all of the above. And sometimes we'll be going up that path and then boom, it just crashes. Well, one of the greatest artists of history is Michelangelo. And he said, if people knew how hard I worked to get my mastery, it wouldn't be so wonderful. It wouldn't seem so wonderful at all. And so, it's, you can only imagine how Michelangelo, just thinking of him laying on his back painting that Sistine Chapel, that's enough to just be like, wow, what devotion, what dedication. But anyone who is a master of their craft or a master of their life, or really walking a path that seems like, wow, it hasn't necessarily always been an easy path for any of them. And the difference between them and I think others is that they didn't allow themselves to get sucked into the loss or the toughness of a situation. They were able to dust their knees off and start walking again towards the light. They work hard. I think that any person, Michelangelo being the perfect example, but anyone who walks this earth with a level of mastery, Tom here, listen to the guitar, it's beautiful. That just doesn't necessarily come as something that just is natural. We have to develop this skill. So today we're talking about life mastery. Mastery is, I think that, in the meditation I had mentioned about what is the desire of your heart. Because really in this world we can create anything. There is no limit except right between here in our beliefs. There's no limit to what we can manifest and what we can create. That's a given. It's just undoing all those false belief systems that keep us thinking that we can't have it or can't do it. Well, I think a lot of us have had success in certain areas, and that's wonderful. It's a fun thing. And certainly, whatever we choose to create is awesome because it's coming from our heart, desire of the Father. So pay attention to those things that make your heart sing and make you excited and get you up in the morning, and surrender those and ask for guidance. Well, creating mastery, this is a quote that comes from the mastery book that we're studying, The Way of Mastery. Mastery comes when fear has been completely dissolved. Fear is dissolved not by fearing it, not by hating it, not by judging it, but by being looked upon with perfect innocence. And so we all have fear, that fear of success, that fear of becoming a master, that fear of failure. I think that they say that people who've mastered their craft have failed way more times than they've succeeded on the way up. So failure is a stepping stone, it's a gift, it's an opportunity to learn. It's not something to begrudge or to say, well, no, I can't do this. It's something to say, okay, what can I learn from this? Thank you for the gift. Ask yourself, when things seem to be falling apart, falling down, where's the gift in this? This week, that's Ellen's favorite quote, where's the gift? Where's the gift? Well, Bella, we woke up, our kitty cat, Friday morning, we woke up to a house that looked like a slaughterhouse. poor little thing, her elbow is just bleeding everywhere. And this has been going on for months. And it's devastating. It's traumatic for her. It's definitely traumatic for us. And so we're getting to the bottom of it. That's the good news. But in the meantime, Ellen's like, okay, where's the gift in this? There's got to be a gift somewhere. And we have to be willing to go into these situations, these challenges. There is a gift, even though it seems like at the time it really stinks. And like, I don't like this at all. But there is always a gift, something to be gained by that. Fear, as I said earlier from this quote, mastery comes when fear has been completely dissolved. If you want to manifest something, and what is fear, by the way? Fear is the belief in the illusion, the belief in separation from source, the belief in things, whatever I put my attention and focus on, that's going to go wrong. If I focus on that, then by golly, what you give your dominant attention to, it's going to happen. I can promise you that. So until we dissolve our fear completely, we can't become masters. And so as John Paul Jones says, if fear is cultivated, it will become stronger. If faith is cultivated, it will achieve mastery. So again, look upon everything lovingly, without judgment, honoring it, supporting it, nurturing it, and knowing that through the eyes of love, holding our brother's hand, we can overcome anything and everything. So looking at this world, at myself, in perfect innocence, we've all struggled. We've all been in a great place. We've experienced it all. But I think that this mastery, this next step is like, okay, I'm choosing to take the next step, and I choose to play in an arena that this world isn't necessarily going to support. Because if you turn on the news or read what's happening day to day, it seems like it's almost a lost cause. But it's not. These things are coming up, they're gifts. They're gifts they're calling to be healed. They're calling to be looked upon without judgment, seeing the innocence in everything. Look at that, in other words, what you most get charged up about. What makes you angry? Who is it that really pushes your buttons, and know that that person is there to mirror to you a gift. Something, it's a call for love, and they've come here to answer it in the greatest degree of love, and we can answer it by pushing away or embracing it. Now, mastery is fearlessness. To walk in this world with your head held high without fear. There's nothing, who was it that said, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. There truly is nothing to fear, because the truth of the matter is, I am an eternal being. The truth of who I am is not touched by anything that seems to be happening out here. The truth of who I am can remain peaceful, is remaining peaceful through all of this. What happens is, when I let my mind start judging and attaching, and I'm defending and I'm attacking and going on and on and on with the drama, well, I get more fearful. I build on that. But we have to remember that this quote, this statement, very simple, we've all heard it. Whenever we're in fear, remind yourself, I and my Father are one. And that's the truth. Remember that. Walk this world fearless. I and my Father are one. And that just is a mantra that can help you just melt that fear. Let it dissipate. It's not that, there's nothing to really worry about or to be afraid of. We've experienced in our own group here a lot of sickness and death. I can remember a few years back, someone came up to me and said, it's remarkable. We've got a great community and so many healthy people, and no one's gotten sick, and everyone's still thriving. And then it wasn't the case. It shifted in a big way. We've lost a lot of our great souls here to sickness and death, and it's interesting, and it's sad. It is sad, and I certainly miss everybody. But I too also know that the truth is beyond my understanding. And I do know that their soul is fine wherever they are. And I remember the love rather than focusing on the grief and the pain and the suffering. So Jesus tells us, if I can do these things, so too can you. And indeed, greater things than these shall you do. Beloved friends, is it not time to assume complete responsibility for the grand freedom that has been imparted to you by Abba, Father, Mother, Creator, source of your being? Again, one famous quote from our brother Jesus, even the least among you will do all I have done and greater things. And where is that in many of the Sunday schools around? That quote seems to be just sort of, pushed to the side. Well, what's that one mean? Well, it doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean really that you can be a Christed being. Well, yes, it does. Even the least among us can do everything that Jesus demonstrated to us. Other masters have demonstrated to us, and greater things. But we have to be willing to step up and walk in that power and that mastery. He also says what is true about you is no different than what is true about me. And I think we can apply this to every master. The only difference has been that I learned to train myself hour by hour to drop only unlimited pebbles that send out vibrations of unconditional acceptance and love, forgiveness, unconditional love, and unbridled vision and revelation, while you have selected to do that only a few times. And I think that's really the nuts of this. One thing I learned from A Course in Miracles, and I think that this holds true for every teaching, but I heard it framed so beautifully in the Course, and it says, the Course in Miracles is a course in mind training. It also says, be vigilant for God and His kingdom only. Only. We have to train ourselves. The difference, as Jesus and other masters have said, the only difference between us and them is that we'll try it a few times and then we get distracted. We start looking the other way, or we get engaged in drama, or we get angry and we feel like a victim of whatever. We're not any of that. But we allow ourselves to put our focus off of the truth and get sucked into the illusion. And thus, we're repeating that cycle of separation and fear. It says, then you rush and pick up the pebbles of unworthiness, limitation, lack, fear, smallness, and then you drop in, we're talking here about dropping in those pebbles. What are we feeding? What pebbles are we throwing into the water? The pebbles of possibility or limitation? And then after we drop those pebbles in of suffering and lack and limitation and sickness, we have that thought, well, let's go back to the other cupboard and say, here's a pebble that says, I and my Father are one. I've had enough of that. And back we go again. While I stay on the side of the fence saying, I and my Father are one, I and my Father are one. We need to stay on that side of the fence. Recognize, what we do is, I and my Father are one. I and my Father are one. It's great. I'm feeling good. Life is grand. I'm putting my focus and attention on all of that. Then all of a sudden, wham, something happens. And I engage and I dive down that rabbit hole. Okay? And I'm feeding it and I'm gathering allies and I'm gathering whatever. And it's like this side of the fence, these pebbles that I've thrown in, I and my Father are one. I am a master. I am unlimited. I've just drowned that out with all of my fear and judgment. But the good news is we can always, always pull it back. Now what happens is, I believe in mastery, and this is something that although I have not attained it personally, I think I've had glimpses, I think we all have, of mastery, where we feel like so connected and we feel so empowered and so loving and so loved and nothing upsets us. That's our true nature. And then all of a sudden, like I said, we fall out of that. But what I find interesting is we do have the power to step out of this once and for all. And, I feel a lot of times, and this is a very sticky wicket, a fine line, because often I do believe our true nature is love. I believe and know that we are non-dualistic in truth. That means that there is only love, that's all there is, and that everything else is an illusion and some story I've made up. And I have to be willing to own that and step into that. And often there's a lot of defense and rationalizing and people saying, we have to embrace our suffering. Yes, we look at it innocently, but we don't have to stay stuck there, because we are here to wake up, to be awake. But we have to be willing to let go of our story. And that's really hard. That's really hard sometimes, because that story has a lot of meaning. That's a lot of my identity, but that's not my truth. I like this. It says the symbolism is of like taking a bite of fruit. Well, I'll take a bite of this fruit. Ooh, but it's so sweet, it's so good and perfect. I'd rather have a bite of a rotten one too to balance it out. That's that, and it's all of a sudden we think that well, I've got to, life's too good, so now I've got to have some crap come into my life, or rotten fruit, to balance it out. Well, you know what? You don't have to eat the rotten fruit anymore. The tree of good and evil, positive and negative, unlimitedness or limitation, forgiveness over judgment, love over fear is like holding a beautiful flower and seeing the petals saying, oh, it's so beautiful, I can't take it, so I think I'll prick my finger on the thorn and bring myself back down. That's what we do all the time. It's like eat the rotten fruit, see the beautiful flower, prick our finger, and bring us back to reality. That's not the game. We have to be willing to focus our attention and have our intention be to be a master. I know you've heard this before, but it bears repeating. It's been said that we have up to 100,000 or more thoughts in a day. And with those thoughts, 99.9% of those thoughts were from the day before, and 99.9% of those are fear-based and programming. So we're carrying forth into this moment all of the past, all that baggage, and with that, what do you think you're going to go forward with? The baggage, the past. So if you really want to create anew, begin anew, we have to be willing to forgive the past, no longer see value in telling that story, because it is just his story, her story. It's not the truth of who we are. So we have to be willing when that comes up, shine light on it, see the innocence, watch it disappear, and step back into your power. Because we have to retrain ourselves to align our thoughts with the thought system of I and my Father are one. And so we have to give up that rotten fruit and the thorns. And this is about reacting. Anytime you react to what you believe is outside of yourself, you may be absolutely positive of this. You've elected to pick up that old pebble or that old thought system that says, I'm a victim of the world I see. What I experience is caused by forces outside of me. The fault really is in my mother, my brother, my father, my partner, my child. The fault is in the government and the planet and the quality of the air. The fault is from a source outside of me, and I have no choice but to react. To which I can only say, do you prefer to be right or happy? Yeah, there's a lot of temptation out there to go down the path of fear. Yes, environmentally, the government, our partnerships, our relationships. I could go on and on and on, and I can justify my reason to be miserable, and I can justify my littleness, or I can make another choice. And one of my favorite quotes is, would you prefer to be right or happy? Well, I prefer to be happy. I think we're here to be joyful, we're here to be happy. We don't have to wear our stories like a badge of honor anymore. Now, I'm not saying that that's an easy task, and I'm not saying necessarily that it's not a process, because it can be. But I think if we set our intention and our desire on being masters, waking up, asking the Holy Spirit, your ascended masters, to guide you through the process, you can collapse time. But you have to be willing to say, yes, I choose to be happy and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to let that go. And I don't need to identify with my story anymore. I'm going to identify with the truth that I and my Father are one. And so, indeed, there you go. Thank you. And so, here's a quote by Gary Zukov, which I found very apropos. The more aware of your intentions and your experiences you become, the more you will be able to connect the two. And the more you will be able to create the experiences of your life consciously. This is the development of mastery. It is the creation of authentic power. So I look at that as we need to question every belief, every value that we hold. Because, our beliefs lie strongly in that which is not real or true. And we have to lie in the beliefs that I am a master. I and my Father are one. And then we can consciously co-create with love our lives, the lives we truly desire. And it's a choice. So it is, as Gary Zukov just said, it is the creation of our authentic power. That's the truth of who we are. So bye-bye past. We have to let it go. And Jesus, in closing from The Way of Mastery, says, "Beloved and holy friends, remember that I come not to bring peace to the world, but to shake it up, so those beings that make up the world can discover where true peace is truly hidden within themselves, and where heaven abides within themselves, and where Christ lives within themselves. Peace then be unto you always." So it ain't out there. This world is being shaken up like in a high-speed blender right now. And if you're looking for peace out here, you're gonna not find it. We're looking for love in all the wrong places, as they say. So we have to be willing to know that the journey has to go within, that there is a peace that dwells within us that can overcome any of the chaos of the world. So I like this. I'd never really heard Jesus say this, because Jesus actually, we always hear he came to bring peace to the world. And he's saying, no, I came to shake it up. So you realize it's not out there. And that really struck home for me. That makes sense. Yep, we're getting it shaken up all right, and it's not out there. So we need to take that turn within. Be patient with ourselves. Look lovingly upon all things. Try not to go into your past and your old stories. It is possible. That's our call. We're here to be masters. We're here to wake up to mastery. And I will close with Albert Einstein. "Only one who devotes himself to a cause with his whole strength and soul can be a true master. For this reason, mastery demands all of a person." So mastery demands all of it. We can't have a glimpse of fear. We have to give our whole self to the desire to be masters. We have to be willing to let go, let spirit, let love be our guide, and know that our best is ahead of us, because it truly is. So there may be a lot of fear going on out here, but it ain't going on in here. So let's take that journey within together and know that all is in divine and perfect order, and so it is. Namaste.
Charlotte, that it's okay to play harmonica in church. I didn't know if that was...
You can do whatever you want here. Why not? Go for it. Anything goes.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for letting me share some music with you today. And I would ask you to all help me sing this, if you would, as we end the service. it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. We're out there in the dark, I'm gonna let it shine.